Hello guys, hello YouTube, hello guys, hello girls. Right, so it's Thursday, Sunday, I'm at work, I'm having a break, so this is a nice quiet time for me to do a quick video in response to literally dozens and dozens and dozens of questions that I see all the time on the Scandinavian knife forums. How do you sharpen a Scandi blade? Predominantly on the Mora forums, I've got to say, because I think what it is the first introduction to a Scandi knife most people get. It's a Mora. Certainly was for me, was for my kids, was for people I know. They get a Mora because you get something like this. This is the basic. This is less than £10, $10, €10. So they buy something like this, and maybe it's the first Scandi knife they've ever had. Up to then, quite often they've had a saber grind or a flat grind. It's particularly on the other side of the pond from here in Europe. In Europe, Scandi grind's more popular, or certainly well more known. I'm not saying more popular, more known. Okay. Anyway, so the final. I wasn't really going to bother with this video, but the final thing was I saw some guy, poor guy, up on one of the more forums, and he put, if the sandpaper method for sharpening a Scandi blade is so simple, why is my Mora now as sharp as a banana? And of course that's funny, but also it made me think, well, maybe it is simple to those of us who know how to use it, but people who haven't had an introduction, maybe they're not too sure how to use it. Okay, so I'm going to do this little video about how I stress again, how I use the sandpaper method. It might not be the same as some other people. And also I'll do another one about how to sharpen a Mora on a really cheap oil stone, which might be your next step up, the sandpaper method probably being your most economical way to do it to start. And then I might even get one of my Moras and take it up to like the next level and do a quick video on how to use Japanese water stones. Okay, so to start with this one, you obviously need your Mora knife. I've got 3 knives here I'm going to be sharpening today. This Mora Basic, which is the one I'm going to be showing you with. My Garberg, my stainless steel Mora Garberg, customized by Dane, bless him, thanks Dane. It's not actually that bad, but I think it just needs some love and care. If you look, it's got just about some scratches and crap, but all my knives do, because none of my knives stay in the drawer, they all go to the woods. And perhaps one of my favourite knives, my Heli Tor, which as you can see is pretty good, but it has developed a little nick here. Yeah, there. So I thought I might do that. Now this one I'm going to take out to a bit further because it's a bit more of a showy knife, and also it's I like this one to be silky smooth. This was more of a working one. This is my kind of like silky smooth one, and I guess this is going to be somewhere in the middle. Okay, so let's get those out of the way. What we're going to need, obviously, to sharpen sandpaper. I'm using the term sandpaper, but wet and dry paper. You don't really want coarse woodworking sandpaper. You want wet and dry sandpaper, abrasive paper. So obviously, move that over there. You'll need sandpaper. Now I've got sheets of, buy mine off eBay, just in these sheets, and I've got, because it's not particularly bad, I'm going to be using from 400. I actually got up to, what have we got? 5,000, but I'm only going to go up to 2,000. This is a working nice. The 5,000 is to do my Heli and maybe my Garberg. Actually, it deserves a bit of love. It's been treated like poo. Okay, so you'll need your abrasive sandpaper. You'll need a strop. You don't have to have a strop, but I highly recommend you have a strop. You don't have to buy a purpose-made strop like this one. This one was made for me by Paul Dorr. This is rather cool wolf print that he puts on all his stuff, his leatherwork. In fact, if you're watching this on one of the Mora forums or the Mora mods, whatever, you're well aware of who Paul is. You know, his leatherwork is just unquestionably fantastic, and his strops are really good too and really reasonable. I've got 2. I've got this one, and I've got one half as big that I take on in my rucksack, and it's just brilliant. Now, if you don't want to buy a strop, I recommend this. Cut the side of the cereal packet, wait till it's empty or the wife will beat you up. Okay, and it's just got a really nice texture. Cut it into a strip, really nice texture. Poor man's strop, absolutely. And I'm not going to say it does as good a job, but 90% as good a job as leather. But There you go. Now you'll need to charge either of these with either some buffing compound, go to your hardware store, or just go on eBay, buy the cheapest buffing compound you can find. You can get nice expensive ones and they do a better job, but we're talking about 80-90% as good, and this video is going to be predominantly for beginners. So buy the cheapest buffing compound you can buy, or just get some car metal polishing paste. This is also sold in Europe. I'm in Europe. I don't know what brands you got in the States, but I know you've got to have them. And this is also good. I think the buffing compound does a slightly better job, but this is also good. Okay, you might even have some knocking around. If not, car supplies, eBay. You can get all this stuff on eBay for like pounds. I think I paid £3 for all the sandpaper. You know, so here we go. The other thing you're going to need is something to put your sandpaper on. Usually comes in 9-inch wide sheets, so I cut it into 3, so I get 3 out of each one. Obviously that's a 3-inch sheet. Now I use, because I work in a framing shop and I can get it, I use a sheet of glass. You can see here, got a piece 3 inches by the length, whatever the length is. Yeah, 3 inches by 11 inches of sandpaper, bit of tape stuck onto a piece of glass. Glass is great. If you can get a piece of glass, so much the better. Either go to a picture framing shop, ask for a bit. You don't need a bit this big. I mean, a bit that big's big enough, isn't it? Just to take. You can also get in window shops. God, they'll get it out of an offcut. It might cost you £1, if that. Good substitute if you're a bit wary using glass. Maybe you've got kids always running around while you're doing stuff. Perspex, plastic. You can even use a hard book cover. I will say the hardest book cover has still got a fraction of giving it, so you'll end up with slightly convex edge. Will that matter? No. So away you go. So take a sheet, cut it into, and then you'll need to just put it on the edge of a table. Let's get this to show you. Edge of a table, so it's flat with the edge of the table. The final thing you may need, if you're not too confident about you getting your bevel right, is a marker pen. Okay, so let's get started. You've got your abrasive paper. You've got it stuck on your flat surface. Get your pen. You don't have to do this. Most guys, after they've done 2 or 3 knives, they don't bother with this. But if you're not too confident, it's good. And get the pen and just colour in. I'll just do one side. Sorry, I'll do both sides. Colour in the bevel. Okay. Put the lid on so it doesn't dry out and I don't get told off again. You dried out the pen. Right. Okay. So you can see I've coloured in the bevel on the edge of that knife. Okay. This is so you'll be able to see how close to the edge you get, because it will. If you get to the edge, the idea is to remove all the black pen. Okay. So this is the bit I think people suffer with. Okay, is finding the bevel. The easy way to find the bevel on a Scandinavian knife is to lay it dead flat and just push on the blade. You know it's flat because you can't get a pen or anything under the back spine side. Then just push on the bevel of the blade, and now you know it's right because you can get a pen underneath. That's how I do it, or did it. And then literally from there, keeping it flat, you draw it that way and off. Do it 3 times. So, flat, and tip it until it stops. Draw it off, so that's 3. Now if you look at that, you can see I've pretty much got all the ink off the bevel. There's a little bit up here, which means I need to lean into it, but I am getting the apex, and that's what the main thing is. The whole thing with a Scandi is you want to get the apex meeting perfectly here. Did that off screen, but there you go. Apex meeting perfectly here. Okay, I've moved that. There you go. So I've done 3 that way. Now do 3 the other way. This is just to find out if you're getting all of it. And once again, you can see I've cleaned off just a little bit up here, but I'll get that when I'm a bit more careful. Okay, so starting with your coarsest grit. Now if it's really dinged up, you'll have to go right back down to 200. This isn't too bad, so I'm starting at 400. Okay, now just to show you guys how effective this weight is, ceramic rod. Okay, if you don't like the sound of this, still quite sharp. So that's 2.5, that's 10. That's blunt as a badger's arse, as my granddad would say. Yeah, look, it's just ripping. It's just ripping the paper. Okay? So, whatever coarsest grind you start with, you want to spend most of your time on this grind. Okay, on this grit. This is where you do your diligence. This is where you put in the work, set the bevel, and do your main sharpening. I think the trouble is, people are all too keen to go up the grits and get a nice shiny edge, nice shiny bevel, but they don't put in enough time on this. I'm just going to tighten this up a bit. I've noticed got a little bit of, there we go, slack. Okay, so don't be tempted to move on from the course. This is 400. I'm going to take it. I'm going to do 400, and then I'm going to do 1,000, then I'm going to do 2,000. That's all I'm going to do today, just to get a nice working edge. You could just go to the 1,000 and get a working edge, but I'm going to go a little bit more. Okay, so you're going to do more strokes on this one, and then you're going to work your way up. Okay, so flat on, tip it. Once again, just to show you, it's tipped and locked on the bevel, and then I'm going to do 10 strokes that way. 1, and then as I get to here, I'm lifting my elbow slightly so that I'm getting the belly. If any time you're not sure you're getting it, just colour the bevel in again and go back to it. 6, 7, flat, tip, 8, flat, tip, 9, flat, tip, 10. Okay, and already you can see I've started to get down. It's already started to get down nice and clean. I wouldn't say polished because there's lots and lots of grit on there. The grit lines that you get from a coarser paper. But already we're better and we're cleaner. Okay, so now I want to go 10 this way. So flat, tip, and now I want 10 this way. 1, 2, flat, tip, 3, flat, tip, 4, remember, flat, and then tip it up, and you'll know it's right. Okay, you can do that there, and then I think that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so now on that side we can see we've cleaned the edge up quite nicely, and it's already starting to get sharper again. Okay, but obviously it's a really rough edge because we're at a coarse grit. Okay, so it's starting to get nice and clean, and you'll start check you're getting right to there, because this is your working part of your blade. This is where you got your most leverage for doing like your cuts, your feathers, etc. Okay, now from 10 you want to go down to 8, so flat, tip, and you will get quicker. You won't have to say to yourself flat, tip, you'll just put it straight onto the bevel. But for now, do every one, flat, tip, just take your time. 7, 8, okay, and then it's getting cleaner and cleaner. So what we're going to do, we are going to do 10 on one side, 10 on the other side, 8, 8, 6, 6, then we're going to go 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, and when we get to 1, I'll bring you back because you don't want to look at me doing this, okay, all the way through several hundred strokes. All right, back in a minute. Okay guys, so I've gone all the way down. I did 10 on each side, 8 on each side, 6 on each side, 5 on each side, 4, 3, we're going to do 2, then 1, and then I'll show you how we finish off with this grit. So 1, 2, 1, 2, and then on the 1 I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's been 10, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then on 1 I'm doing 5 aside, which is 10. Okay? Okay. And if you look, two things. One, you can see already getting a nice clean bevel. And two, if you watch, if you look, you'll see where I've been doing it. I've actually abraded the abrasive paper. So although that was 400, it's probably nearer 500 now, which means that I can jump up to the next grit, and I've already sort of half done the middle grit, because this is obviously a bit finer than what you can do next time you take it, turn it round, and away you go again. And just out of interest, let's see what we got. So you saw it. So you saw I hit it with the shank roll. You saw what we were doing. So let's see what we've got with this paper. So we've only done it with the 400, and we're already getting back to being sharp again. It's not silky smooth because obviously we're only at a rough grit. Okay, so it's sharper again. Okay, but I think on balance we're probably ready to go up to our next grit, because we've got a fairly sharp knife now. Yeah, I think the other side was just a bit damp. We've got a fairly sharp now. Now we want to refine that edge, and that is easy. All we have to do, take this off and go from the 400 up to our 1000 grit. I'll just swap that over and show you. Okay, nice and simple. We've swapped it for 1000 grit. Tape that on. I'm using bigger bits of tape because it was moving slightly when I started out. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to do 10, then we're going to do 8, then we're going to do 6, then we're going to do 5, then we're going to do 4, then we're 3, 2, and 1. And this time we just do the same thing again. So put it on flat, tip it, put it on flat, tip it. You see, I did one aside there just to show you. So now we're going to do 10, 1, flat, tip it, 2, flat, tip it, 3, flat, tip it, 4, flat, tip it, 5, flat, tip it, 6, flat, tip it, 7, 8, 9, 10. And basically what you're doing is, on this side we've still got the 400 grit scratches, and this side we're getting the 1000 grit scratches, which you'll see will be progressively less. Okay, we're just refining the edge. Once again, I'm not going to make you watch me go through the whole lot. I'm just going to do the same again. That is to say, flat, tip it, and I'm going to do that 10 strokes this side, and then I'm going to go to 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then the 1 I'm going to do 5 aside. I'll bring you back when we're ready to do that. Okay guys, I've done that. We're back onto doing the 1. I've done all the way down to 2. So now I'm going to do 1, 1. And I'm going to do 10, so 5 aside. So basically, so I'm going to re-stress this every time. Hope the people know what they're doing, don't get bored, but tip it, flat, 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 tip it. Right, so we're now ready to go. You can see we've got rid of most of the 400 scratches, and we now have 1000 scratches, so they're already pretty fine. I mean, arguably you could just take this into woods and use it, but let's give it another grit and see how it goes, and strop, and see how much better we can get it. Okay, so bear with me, I'll swap that over. Now, here we go, we are up to 2000. I'm probably going to stop here after I've stropped. And the other thing to say is, it is wet and dry. Some people like to put a bit of water on it when they use it. I don't generally bother, but if you want to, feel free. I think in theory, and probably in practice, it helps to carry away some of the particles while you're sharpening. But I don't generally bother, but you can if you want. It is wet and dry. So once again, we're going to do 10, 8, 6, then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, alternating, and then we're going to move on to stropping. Okay, I obviously won't take you through that all the way through. I'll just do the 10 again, just to, so you can see that rhythm again. So flat, tip it, 1, flat, tip it, 2, flat, tip it, 3, flat, tip it, 4, flat, tip it, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. See, start to come up. That wetting it is not the best idea. 9, I think, and 10. So basically I did it alternately so you could see it, but I'm going to do 10 aside, 8 aside, etc. down, and when we get there I'll tell you. Alright, give us a sec and I'll bring you back. Okay, so I've done that. I'm down to the number 1, so flat, tip it, 1, flat, tip it, 2, flat, tip it, 3, and then 4, flat, tip it, 5, flat, tip it, 6, flat, tip it, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2 for luck, because that's how I roll. Just get them. So as I say, you can wet this or not. I prefer not to. I just find it easier to work with when it's not wet. But if you're the sort of person who wants to wet it, that's fine. It's fine too. And you can see now the 2000 grit has got rid of the 1000 grit. And now we're on to what they, the 2000 scratches. I say scratches, they're tiny. Yeah, and as you go up progressively, be careful with that. As they go up with progressive grits, they get more and more tiny. Okay, so that's as far as I'm going to take it with this one. I'm just going to strop it, and then going to see what we've got. Okay, so I'll show you how I'm going to strop it. So what we do is we take this, pull off our grit, and then what we can do is we actually want, again, about, I don't know, it's a bit less than 3, that's about 2 inches of your handy dandy cereal box. Put it on there again. Now you can tape it if you want, which I'm going to do. You can just freehand it. I just like the taping, keeps it nice and flat. Okay, so stick that on your perspex, on your, if you've got a builder in the family, builds by a bit of marble. Okay, you can buy little bits of marble. Then pretty expensive, but not that expensive, and they're quite good. So that's nice and flat. Now onto that. You don't have to put anything onto it. If you've got nothing else and all you've got is 400 or 600 grit sandpaper, you could sharpen it like I did. What I'd recommend you do if you're doing that is repeat the 10 down to 1 3 times and then go straight to the strop. Okay, you won't get such a shiny polished edge, but you will get a perfectly good functioning working edge. Okay, this is just a better edge. It'll give you a more efficient, better slicing edge. Will it be, as better slicing, will it be better? Perhaps not, but it will be more silky smooth when you use it, and it'll give you that lovely Scandi bite. Okay, so you could just use it like this, or as I've said, get yourself some buffing compound or Ultrasol. I'll just put the buffing compound on because it's easier for you to see, because it's, just paint it on, get plenty on there. Okay, I don't know if you can see the blue going on there. There is a great one on eBay, and it's called Smurf Poo. It's called Smurf Poo because it's called something like Smurf Blue, and everyone just calls it Smurf Blue Poo. But I just get this from my local hardware store. It cost me £1. Okay, so I think you can just about see the blue on there. Get it flat, and I'm going to go for 100, so 50 aside. Okay, so tip it up, and the other thing to remember is just tip it up and do it, tip it up and do it, tip it up and do it, flat, tip it up, do it, and already you can see that blue's going a little bit black. That's because even though you're just stropping, you are removing metal. In this case, you're just removing those micro burrs and, just those little tiny imperfections that you'd be left with if you didn't strop. Some people don't strop. I remember, the late great Chris Stamp, what a great knife sharpener he was. He took it to a fine edge on stones and he never stropped, or very rarely stropped. But I'm not that good on it, and I need the strop to do that final bit of tidying up. So if I do, I'm going to do 100, so that's 50 aside. So when I've done that, I'll bring you back. Okay? Right guys, I've got about 10 left. 1, 2, 3. Right, so tip it, 4, flat, tip it, 5. Just to keep reminding yourself, flat, tip it, 6, flat, tip it, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 2 for luck. Okay, so if I show you that, you can see how much material the stropper took. Now, that's only a fraction of metal it's took off, but each bit of that is a little bit of metal or a burr that can be a potential hang-up that interferes with the sharpness of your blade. So I think personally stropping is a good thing. Now let's see what we've got now. So to recap, we have actually I'll show you that. You can see after the stop it's really got a nice little polish on there. If we'd gone to 5,000 or 7,000 and then stopped, it would be a mirror. I mean, there is a Japanese word for when it's sort of that slightly matte polish in knife circles. I can't remember the name of it, but it's pretty highly regarded and people like it rather than the total mirror sharpen. I think sushi chefs have it to about that. Well, yeah, they would, wouldn't they? But if you want it polished, and I like polishing it, you know, it's not necessary, but I do. Okay, so you can see it's nice and polished. So, recap. Abrasive paper, sandpaper, wet and dry, whatever you want to call it. We've gone from, because this knife wasn't too bad, even though I gave it a pretty good old blunting on this coarse ceramic sharpening rod. We've done 400, 1,000, 2,000 and a strop. That's it. If it was really bad, I'd start at like 150 or 200 and double it. 200, 400, 1,000, 2,000, and then if I wanted to go all the way to a mirror polish like I probably will on the Garberg and the Heli, then I will probably go after 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 7,000 and then strop. Okay, so what we've got, so that's what we had one after I blunted it. The moment of truth, this is where I find out I've totally fucked it up and you all laugh at me. No, that's pretty good. See, silky smooth, nice and smooth, no hang-ups, makes lovely clean sound as it goes through. And there we have it. Abrasive sandpaper, dead cheap on eBay, piece of glass, perspex, whatever you can find nice and flat. Homemade strop out of a bit of cereal box, and that's what we have. A nice, sharp Scandinavian knife. Hope that's helped some people, especially the people who are getting a bit confused. Take care guys, bye bye.